Okay, Mr. Chair, it's now 12 p.m. You may begin.
Begin with item number 3, public comment. During the meeting, the city secretary's office will monitor the 3-minute time requirements and ensure that comments pertaining to items on the agenda. Citizens who desire to address the board with regard to matters on the agenda will be read and or received at this time.
No public comment.
Were there any written comments submitted, or is anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir.
At this time, we will close public comment and move to item number 4, orientation. Item A, review of and discussion on Animal Advisory Board rules, roles, and responsibilities. Stacy Henderson, Director of Environmental and Neighborhood Services.
Good afternoon. We will go ahead and jump into our annual orientation. But before we get started, I wanted to take the opportunity to our newest board member, Ms. Jenna Ross. And I thought it would be beneficial if we kind of just went around the room, so to speak. If you would just share your name, and that way everyone can put a face with a name, I think that would be beneficial. Yes, I can kind of introduce it and we can start. I'll just call on individuals as my screen shows. Barbara? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Hi, I'm Barbara Willie. I've been on the board for many years now, and enjoy the impact that this board can have on animals in the city of Sugar Land.
Thank you. Susie.
Howdy, I'm Susie Hyde. I'm a volunteer at the animal shelter. I walk dogs and help with the cats. And I think this is my 4th year on the board.
Marion?
Marion Nixon. I've been on the board, I think 2 or 3 years now.
Thank you. Robin?
Okay, I'm Robin Novak. I am also a volunteer, usually help out in the reception area and administration. And I've been on the board for quite a while, not as long as Barbara or Dr. Cox, and Susan, but I've been here for a while. And we've already met Jenna. Hi.
Dr. Cox.
I'm Dr. Jimmy Cox. I'm chairman of the board, and I've been on here longer than I can remember.
Thank you. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Chapman. I've been on the board. I think this is my 3rd year. Maybe it's my 4th. I've lost count. But I've been in Sugar Land since 2003 and really enjoy the work that this board does and the people on the board. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Jenna?
Hi, I'm Jenna Ross. I'm a local wildlife rehabilitator. I specialize in squirrels and I do a couple raccoons on the side, and I can do a possum for a week maybe.
Yeah. Ellen?
Hi, Ellen Tarver. I think we met at City Hall, Jenna. I've been on the board a couple of years and I am a shelter volunteer for many years.
Catherine?
You guys are all so humble. Our board is amazing, and I'm so pleased to have you as part of it, Jenna. Welcome, and to everybody, thank you again for your continued support of the shelter and all the hard work that you guys do. Much appreciated.
And John.
I'm John Neiman. I've been on the board for a number of years. I actually do have a picture, but for some reason it's not showing up on the screen.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone that may not be showing up on my screen? Okay. Then we will go ahead and go into the beginning of the orientation. So we're going to review a few of the different topics. Again, some of these will be familiar for those of you who have been on the board for a number of years now. Next slide, please. So the Animal Advisory Board was created with appointments made according to membership requirements and qualifications as provided by state law. The members are appointed annually by the city council, and in 2017, the board membership was expanded from 5 to 11 members. The membership includes a licensed veterinarian, animal welfare representative, animal services volunteers, the individual responsible for daily operations at the animal shelter, and a municipal official. Next slide, please. With the expanded membership, the criteria for membership was also expanded to include individuals who had adopted an animal from the shelter or rescue group, someone who demonstrated interest in the welfare of animals, individuals who had a career in an animal-related industry, who were involved in local community organizations, who had a career in the medical, epidemiology or zoonotic field, as well as wildlife management experience, and then work or volunteer with the shelter or rescue group. Next slide, please. So the board's responsibilities include the review and recommendation of procedures for the care and maintenance of animal shelter facilities and animals to ensure compliance with state law. It includes review of animal control ordinances, review of animal control policies, programs, and practices of the current animal shelter and for implementation at a new shelter, as well as a recommendation of funding options and a capital campaign related to the animal shelter expansion project. Next slide, please. The Animal Advisory Board will and has been asked to provide feedback and recommendations regarding a variety of topics, such as program operations, our animal services ordinances, our standard operating procedures, the animal shelter expansion, and the capital campaign. Next slide, please. Now, the city and the Animal Advisory Board must comply with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Failure to comply can bring a punishment of a $500 fine, a Class C misdemeanor. The meeting agendas in compliance with the Open Meetings Act must be posted, describing the items to be considered and discussed at the meeting. The meetings must be held in a location accessible to the public, and discussion and decisions or votes must be made in open session. Next slide, please. During the meetings, there is a public comment portion that is scheduled at the beginning of the meeting. Citizens wanting to address the board must complete a request to speak form, and then each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers needing a translator will have 6 minutes, and then comments or discussion by the board will only be made at the time the subject is scheduled for consideration on the agenda. Next slide, please. The city must also comply with the Public Information Act, and penalties may be imposed should the city fail to do so. Punishment can range from fines to imprisonment. The Public Information Act gives the public the right to request access to public information, and that information is requested in writing through our city secretary's office. Exceptions can apply to the release of government information, and in those instances, the city must consult the Office of the Attorney General. Next slide, please. The Animal Advisory Board's meeting schedule is generally once a month on the second Wednesday at noon. Typically, we meet at the Public Works Service Center here, where right next door to the animal shelter. But meetings may be held virtually as allowed by law, as they are right now per the governor's orders. And the board must meet at least 3 times a year. In regards to attendance, members are expected to attend most meetings. If unable to attend most meetings, the member should submit his or her resignation, so a replacement board member may be appointed. The City Council may dismiss a member of the board or commission for poor attendance. And members who miss 3 consecutive meetings, except for special circumstances, are deemed to have automatically resigned. Next slide, please. Now, as I'm sure you are aware, information has been shared regarding the ethics presentation by our city attorney and your attendance at that, at one of those sessions. As some of you may recall from last year, there is also online trainings from the Texas Attorney General's office. The links are included here, but we will also be sharing those with you so that you can complete those online trainings and provide the certificate of completion to myself and to the Office of the City Secretary by January 25th. Next slide, please. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the information that we have covered.
Hey, Stacy, if we did the public's work thing earlier, do we need to do that again, or is this something new, updated, or what?
I believe it is something that needs to be completed each year.
Okay.
So I will send out that information.
All righty. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? At this time, we will move to item number 5, workshop. Item A, review of and discussion on the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation's capital campaign for the animal shelter and control facilities. Stacy Henderson, Director of Environmental and Neighborhood Services.
Well, thank you. Just going to start out with a little bit of background with information we covered at our last board meeting in July. The Sugar Land Legacy Foundation, as you may recall, will be the primary fundraising organization for the Animal Shelter Expansion Project. And we anticipate Animal Advisory Board members to assist in that process. The Legacy Foundation, as you may also recall, did interview some consultants in early March to assist with board development and capital campaign development. However, in April, the Legacy Foundation decided to postpone hiring a consultant. They really felt that fundraising should be postponed due to the pandemic. And at that point, in July when we met, they were also anticipating some changes in membership on the Legacy Foundation Board of Directors, just as Animal Advisory Board members are appointed on an annual basis. And you can see some change from time to time. They were experiencing similar changes. Next slide, please. Now, the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation did meet in October of this year. During that meeting, staff liaison shared information that a city council task force had been initiated with membership including Mayor Zimmerman and Councilmember Jacobson. And what they anticipated the council member task force participation to include was recommendation on Legacy Foundation board members to the city council, and then also review and recommendation on consultant selection. During that October meeting, the Legacy Foundation Board recommended postponing the selection of the consultant until the vacant board member positions are filled. And they are scheduled to have their next meeting in mid-January. So we anticipate that discussion continuing at that point in time. At this time, I would like to go ahead and ask Susan, as a member of the Legacy Foundation, if there was anything additional that she would like to add to the update.
Thank you, Stacy. That pretty covers it. I'll just add a couple of quick things. Like you said, that we do have several board vacancies, and just wanted to, I think we talked about it last time, but reiterate that we are really looking for people that can come in that have a strong fundraising background that can help with that. So we're hopeful that we'll get some people on the board that will be strong candidates for that. And as well as the consultant, we are looking at there's a couple of different options, groups that come in that work with nonprofits that volunteer their time to help with fundraising. So we're looking at some of those options as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have for the update at this time. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, since we have no other questions, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Oh.
Thanks.